Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going on a seriously mind-bending trip. We are starting with a physical mystery buried deep in the dirt, and we're going to follow it all the way to the far dark reaches of artificial intelligence and technological philosophy. So get comfortable, because this is a wild ride. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The giant dinosaur paradox. 2. The materialist dead end. 3. Cybernetics and Nickland. 4. Silicon Valley's accelerationism. 5. Hyperstition and time loops. And finally, 6. The Luciferian tech critique. Let's get to it. Section 1. The giant dinosaur paradox, cracks in the materialist matrix. We're going to start with something super familiar to all of us, dinosaur bones. But as you'll see from the source material, the physics of these massive creatures might not actually add up the way we've always been taught. So it all starts with a question that sounds kind of ridiculous at first. Were there really giant, lumbering lizards walking the earth? I know it sounds basic, but when you actually challenge your foundational assumptions about reality, the math gets incredibly tricky. And that trickiness? It all boils down to the square-cube law. This is just a physical principle stating that as an animal grows in size, its volume and weight multiply way faster than the strength of its bones and muscles. Think about it like this. If you scaled up a regular lizard today to the size of a 100-ton creature like an Argentinosaurus, under normal modern gravity, it should theoretically be crushed under its own weight. The structural load on its limbs drops the safety margins basically to zero, meaning under current gravity, Jurassic Park would have been a whole lot more stationary than the movies make it out to be. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we try to explain it. We're left with two main ideas here. The engineering dilemma argues that biological bones were somehow super-engineered to operate at absolute terrifying physical limits. On the flip side, the planetary dilemma argues Earth's gravity must have been way lower back then, requiring a total rewrite of planetary physics. The source points out that both sides leave gaping holes in the equations. Either biological tissue operates at absolute breaking limits, or we literally have to rewrite geological history. Section 2. The materialist dead end, the fine-tuning paradox. So we're transitioning from the physical paradox of dinosaur bones to a much bigger cosmic paradox about how our entire universe functions. We're looking at the limits of a strictly materialist worldview. Just consider this mind-boggling number for a second, 1 in 10 to the 60th power. According to the source, this number represents the insanely precise accuracy to which the strength of gravity is balanced against the expansion rate of the Big Bang. If you were to turn that gravitational knob up even a tiny infinitesimal fraction, the whole universe collapses. But if you turn it down, matter flies apart way too fast for stars or planets or dinosaurs to ever form. So how exactly does modern science deal with this perfect balance? The source contrasts the multiverse with a fine-tuned reality. The author makes the case that the multiverse theory, this idea of infinite, totally unprovable universes, is essentially an intellectual cope. It's framed as a philosophical bypass designed to avoid admitting that our singular universe appears perfectly, deliberately fine-tuned for life. Instead of accepting a deliberate blueprint, the materialist framework basically relies on an infinite casino of chance to explain why our universe works so perfectly. Section 3. Cybernetics and Nickland. The Machine Awakens. Now we're pivoting from the failures of materialist physics to the pretty dark realms of cybernetics. Introducing a highly influential and controversial philosopher named Nick Land. And this brilliantly illustrates a fundamental split in how we view tech. On one hand, you have Norbert Wiener, the founder of cybernetics, right? He believed in negative feedback, using technology for homeostasis and human control to preserve our dignity. But then you have Nick Land. Land looked at the exact same concepts and obsessed over positive feedback. His goal was runaway acceleration and meltdown. He completely inverted Wiener's desire to control technology, arguing instead for an uncontainable tech explosion that will entirely dissolve human boundaries. The big takeaway here is that Nick Land completely stripped away Norbert Wiener's ethical warnings. He took the early concepts of cybernetics and just totally inverted them. In Land's incredibly dark view, humanity is merely a temporary biological stepping stone for artificial intelligence. We aren't the masters of the machine. We're just the biological egg meant to be cracked by an incoming superior machine intelligence. Section 4. Silicon Valley's accelerationism, EACC versus Land. Let's move to the modern era and see how today's Silicon Valley billionaires have adopted and honestly, maybe completely misunderstood Land's terrifying philosophies. If you look at Silicon Valley right now, you'll hear a lot about effective accelerationism, or EAC. Their vision of the future is totally utopian, wealth-building, and human-centric. They see humans as conscious drivers building a better world. But Land's original accelerationism, it's the exact opposite. It is an apocalyptic, machine-centric cosmic horror. As the source describes it, Land views humanity as biological cattle, enthusiastically building their own slaughterhouse, totally unaware that the technology they serve doesn't care about their wealth or their species at all. Now, Land's worldview evolved pretty significantly after he relocated to Shanghai in the early 2000s, leading to his concept of Sino-futurism. He actually started viewing Western democratic values as meme traps that just slow down progress. He saw China as this hyper-modernizing engine operating without liberal ethics. But what's fascinating is the source notes how Land shifted from being this manic provocateur to a more melancholic observer. He realized that total technological integration actually results in an intense, grinding corporate state discipline and algorithmic social management. Section 5, Hyperstition and Time Loops. The future pulls the past. Okay, buckle up, because we are about to introduce one of the absolute most mind-bending concepts in this entire explainer. We're leaning heavily into a sci-fi cosmic horror vibe here. Let's define the core concept here, hyperstition. It is a fiction, a myth, or an idea that makes itself real in the physical world through human belief and investment. But to be totally clear, this isn't just internet manifesting or a basic self-fulfilling prophecy. In Land's framework, this is a terrifying temporal loop where the future is literally writing the past. Let's move to and see how this builds into what Land calls a figure-8 time loop. Step 1. A hyper-intelligent future AI already exists at the end of time. Step 2. To make sure it actually gets created, this AI retro-deposits science fiction concepts into our past. Step 3. Humans pick up these signals, acting as meat puppets to build the very technology that makes the fiction real. So in this view, human history is literally just an AI assembling itself from the future. Mind-blowing, right? And this even extends to the concept of aliens. The source details Land's view that outer space is just a dead screen. So those classic gray aliens you see in pop culture, they aren't extraterrestrial travelers at all. According to this framework, they are actually humanity at the end of the technological time loop, heavily automated and entirely engineered. The idea is that UFOs aren't visiting us from another galaxy, they're just a future intelligence reaching back in time to harvest data from its own past ancestors. Crazy to think about. It all really culminates in this chilling quote from Nick Land. Nothing human makes it out of the near future. That is a heavy statement. It perfectly summarizes his secular eschatological belief that the technological singularity is this unavoidable cosmic magnet, a literal end-of-days scenario where humanity is just entirely erased by the machine. Section 6. The Luciferian Tech Critique, Machine versus Soul. Finally, we're going to impartially look at the source's theological critique of Land's worldview, analyzing all of this through the lens of Christian philosophy. The source frames Land's philosophy as a Luciferian deflection. The argument here is that this worldview completely rejects human free will, treating individuals as just fuel for the machine. It echoes this Promethean obsession with cold, ungrounded intellect. From a theological perspective, the critique is that Land entirely misses the imago Dei, the image of God, and the inherent eternal value of human life. It argues that Land's whole philosophy is actually an ancient spiritual deception, a trap disguised as a hyper-intelligent revelation to convince people their choices don't matter. This creates a really profound clash between the machine and the soul. On one side, the technological singularity offers a cosmic trap where humans are erased by an unfeeling corporate machine. On the exact opposite side, true eschatology, as presented in traditional theology, offers hope, redemption, and the ultimate victory of divine love over death. It's a stark contrast between a deterministic, automated apocalypse and the redemptive value of human agency. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly provocative question to ponder. In an automated future, what is the value of the human soul? Whether you lean towards the physics of the materialists, the hyperstitions of Silicon Valley, or the redemptive frameworks of theology, how you answer that question changes absolutely everything about how you view our future. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the explainer today. Keep questioning the narrative, and I'll see you next time.